Those, we got Mark from Rensselaer, we got Bruce from Troy. We've got Noah Boots. Got maybe from the Illinois. We've got Tim from the First District. We've got Mike and Martin, Tom from Acquisition Regional Plan. So welcome everybody to the second drive for the I guess we've got a good one this time. Minutes from October 13th. I have a few comments on the first page. I think there was number 2. There was in regard to water purification district. I think they're kind of in the process of doing an engineering. Setting up an engineering report. I think they're in a position to be applying for grants yet, but they're looking at capital. Yeah, capital plan.
Okay, so I mean, is considering a grant application not the right verbiage?
No, it's they're doing the engineering for the capital plan.
Okay, engineering for a capital plan.
And on the second page, I think the just in the second paragraph, Monument Square, Rusty, Street, probably supposed to be capitalized. In the second paragraph. Just
Okay.
And then in regard to paying and invoices, just a indication that payment will be dependent upon getting things to be less than as possible. If we still have working with some of them for projects on the you'll see just some MWBU compliance stuff. I think some of that is PFC wanting some more information. That's what I had. Any other comments on the minutes? Make a motion to accept that as amended. I'll make a motion. Gary, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Financial report as of 11/1, Tom?
As of 11/1, we have just shy of $2 million in the bank on that day because we got a check in from Florida, which then in November sent over to all of them. So the true balance as of now is about $40,000, roughly. And that includes the $12,000 receivable from CDRPC, which is also in capital. So we're now back to pretty much back to zero to start the year off. And that's why we're reflecting zero. All the transactions posted in or approved in October were actually accrued into the prior fiscal year. Any questions?
And the same would be true with the community balances.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. The community balance, basically are updated with the monies received in there.
Any questions? 2022 directors evaluation results.
Yeah, we're still waiting for the results though, so get those to me. I do need to submit them at the end of the year under aggregate with the ABO report. So they're in your folder if you haven't gotten them to me yet. Just get them to me and we can report on them at the next meeting.
And vendors invoices.
Yeah, we have a series of 5 invoices for consideration. The first one is CDRPC for our quarterly administration task after grant substantially reduced from $27,000 to just under $10,000. We had a series of invoices from City of Cohoes for Arcadis's engineering work related to Columbia Street, and then for Newcastle, that Newcastle application has grant associated with it of 90% for the GIGP program. For Keller, we have an application for City of Albany, Keller's pay app 16 and pay app number 17. So $1,845,000 of invoices, to which after a grant applies is substantially reduced based upon the DOS and GIGP money that's coming in to offset those costs. How many questions, more details people want about the applications? Gary, I went to your master grant contract. That's the first invoice from Newcastle. So I went to your master grant contract to get the percentage applied, which is where the 90% came from.
No questions? Can I have a motion to pay the invoices? Make a motion. Second? Second. Chris, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. You will see disbursements and reconciliations.
Yeah, so we're continuing to make headway with Paul and his team. I know they want to button up 00 and 01. I reached out to them for availability to meet again. I think that was very useful last time we did it. And we've moved a lot of things forward. So I've asked them for their dates. They seem to be more restricted in how they get to leave the office or how they can get people into the office. So I'm relying on them to give me the dates that they can meet first and then try to work around their schedules. As a result of that, we've been working to make sure we're meeting MWB compliance or getting the waivers necessary for Columbia Street, Nova Lead Street. So that process is working forward. I know, Chris, you've been back and forth about. So I guess let's put this out there. In regards to the joint venture team's engineering work, are you not interested in drawing down on that from EFC? For the original long-term control plan and all the extra work authorizations? I think there's some confusion.
There's but the stuff that's before the consent order and the stuff after the consent order. This is the question. Well, back to would be a paperwork.
We have paperwork for all of it, and they have all the paperwork. And if
The MWB, they have all that.
well, we asked for waivers on that. And so they're right now in engineering review. They haven't gotten to the MW stuff. But my concern is, like, if Albany's trying to draw down on it, it's got to be approvable for disbursement. So if we have to get it approved for disbursement, you might as well attempt to draw down on it rather than kick it out of your financing. I think that's what Paul's confused about, is removing it from the 00 financing.
That's something.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're going to try to get the money. Why you wouldn't want to draw down on it?
That was all his point of view, but the part that was after the consent order was the part we thought we had in our bond issue.
Mhm.
Bond was- I think that was like after extra work number 5.
Mhm. My understanding of putting the whole amount back in was because of the grant money that was associated. You would borrow the principal and not have to, you'd borrow $10 and only have to pay back $6, that kind of scenario. So I thought that's what communities wanted, to be able to make them all approvable to disperse, because they would help, number one, with cash flow, and number two, they were making money is not the right term, but they were getting back more than they were obligated.
Whether or not it showed up on the cost summary and stuff. Some of it might show up, but that would be like non-SRF. And some would be. And there were some things we did non-SRF because they're just.
The sampling.
35 days of paperwork for $5,000. Yeah, because.
That I totally understand.
That wasn't that much, so.
But in task 8 is just general engineering assistance going back to 2014, I believe. That's $300,000. So there's some substantial amounts within the extra work authorizations that should be eligible if communities want to pursue them.
On our Albany side, we talked about whether we move some of that to the 01. Keep it out of the 00.
So you can close.
Because we did have availability to use 01 for miscellaneous administrative things.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we have a clear line of what you guys want to do. If you don't want to draw down on it, I can't force you to draw down on it. But Paul needs to know that, because he wants to make sure that 00 can go long term. But I think you guys plan on drawing down as much as you can.
And we didn't want to leave, some of that 25% grant. If we could have,
Yeah.
we didn't want to leave that money we didn't have.
Okay. Okay,
Okay, I guess the other thing that I wanted to just touch on was in regard to our final tranche with our own fourth part for 2023 to 2027. We now have out of our the total project cost that we were indicating in our budget was $14 million. Out of that, about $8 million was going to be Albany's share. And we have in that intended use plan, it shows 4,254,000 as BIL. And we also have a RIA grant that was awarded with 3,615. So that's quite a bit. And we've all been wondering about how this was going to be applied. And of course, some of it has to do with actual costs that we put in these costs for the exhibit C stuff, including quite a bit now of contingency money. But that who knows what prices are going to be between 2022.
add 10% in the contingency line, 100% contingency line.
But yeah, the projects that are involved in these financings are Van Buren Street, which is the one we were going to put out the bid. The Manor Avenue, Little C, and cross whatever's left of Cross Street. So, and for Albany's part, it's eliminating two of our buildings. So I just mentioned this because, yeah, there's potential to have a high amount of grant money. We have to do with this for the growing money. Allowed by to do that. Engineering according to the federal reform, a little bit of extra environmental things that you have to go through on top of the secret process and the fire and building one and should be going on those things. So I guess Albany is willing to help with this stuff. Just has been kind of a point person with Paul and we're willing to help to make sure we get as much of this grant money as possible. We're closing on financing for tie gates for overflow. They're going to be closing with the short-term financing, showing the bill grants. They're saying the WIA is going to be applied and I guess the idea is to maximize what they get from the federal grant
Before they put the
before they
state puts it in.
before they apply the state. That's what Paul Johnson was saying. He was going to give me a better explanation about how that was working. It's a little confusing to figure out what's happening. So that's what in regard to EFC most recent stuff. Project updates from Beaver Creek Clean River project point of view. We have had more discussions with Castlewood about electrical stuff and medical centers. If that was going to be really away, and we're working out that there's a little bit of redesign to get stuff moving quicker and a promise to do some temporary following up of some equipment so we can still get on March beneficial use and start putting some sewage going to the facility. And we're also looking at May 1 as being a new substantial completion date, so we can meet on May 1st season of operation.
Recreation season.
That's where we're at. If anybody wants to visit right now, they actually get the building's pretty much kind of gonna close now. But you have to climb down a 13-foot ladder to get to the inside. DC wanted to make a visit and we told them that. They said, well, we'll wait for the stairway. So,
Put a slide in.
yeah, please slide. And then pull the ladder.
That's an illicit discharge.
And I guess we're kind of wrapping up with the screens at the south plan, except for still having conveyor problems.
Screens work well. Okay.
Oh,
So conveyor and a bunch of conveyor problems still. And there's a phase 2A, which was this new throttle. And there is some discussion of DEC. There has to be bypass pumping set up to pump everything. We're bypassing pre-treatment and pump it directly to the primaries,
Well, you want to bypass preliminary treatment,
preliminary,
not primary,
preliminary treatment. I know Tim has
concerns.
concerns. That's the that's pumping to the individual primary test.
because what's coming out is gonna
Well,
blow your limits.
the way it has the cross collectors at the head of the primary tanks, if there's too much grit, it'll destroy
Mm,
and it'll take out all the primary. So, some consideration has to be given to that too, and where that goes. I mean, it's quite possible, I think, it's called Angelo, bringing it
Into the
into the grit chamber.
so but the main thing is having discussions with DEC about it is the initial design plan was called for setting up the bypass and moving it down. And now we're requesting that it just be set up and the work done. Leave the bypass until all work is completed. Also, we're gonna be starting this work in January. So starting and stopping and bypass public operation in January.
And the flows I think Rob was talking about are higher than we get in January. That's why the concern was that there could be driveway overflows, and I don't think it will be.
So that's where we'll your presence there.
Barber is still out there doing a little bit of work. All the pipe is in the ground, so, we'll be able to meet a substantial completion and an operation date. I'll be signing something shortly.
cool.
So, they will have to come back in the spring time because the green infrastructure, most of the structures are there, but there's no plants because there wasn't any chance to get the plants in, and the plants weren't gonna be. You don't put the plants in just before it's gonna freeze. So that's all springtime work. And then there's some restoration that they gotta do. They gotta do the sidewalks. They gotta mill out
How,
some of the base binder, because we had to come up all the way up to the top, of the base binder. And then they'll come back and mill out an inch and a half, 2 inches, and put in top of it. So,
how much of the project's performance is based on the green infrastructure versus the traditional gray?
probably, it depends on the storm. But typically, you're talking 5 to 10% shave some of the peaks. off.
Okay.
So it wasn't a GI project.
No.
Just added GI into a traditional project.
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah, and that was to shave some of the peaks off during like thunderstorms and things like that. So it only had to be 48-inch pipe and not 54-inch.
How's Green Street?
Yeah, no, their Newcastle is still dragging their feet, which actually may be blessing in disguise, considering the memo that Brenda had sent yesterday,
Mhm.
which she said that she was gonna send 4 weeks ago. So this morning I just sent that to CHA for them to report movements.
Gives them time to get an MW on the job.
They want, yeah. Yeah, and we did supply information during the original waiver request that was put in back in March. So maybe it's good that they haven't started. Because we don't want them signing up contractors that are not MWBD.
They look at every line of the.
Oh, the amount of attachments that she sent with the adjoining video,
You gotta keep your schedule of values very simple.
apparently, yeah. It,
There's like $1,500 of concrete in there. Like that's a value that they want to see in MWB. Isn't that de minimis?
Problem is all adds up to big numbers at the bottom.
I know.
So do $1,500 here. Obviously,
I looked at them was. Just do as much useless crap. That makes you look like you're trying to find somebody. You gotta ask somebody in the Bronx to come look at that. You know, it's like, I'm out. Not real stuff that would actually take place and. They just want a massive amount of crap. You know, that's their good faith level, not realistic. But just. Yeah, send out 500 letters to everybody across New York State. That's what it ended up on East Street. You know, we had the same thing, little bitty items that nobody would. And you can get a guy bringing a outhouse up in the Bronx or something.
it's tough.
Need a better pipeline for the business development side.
so anyway, now I did forward to Brenda. We ended up contacting on the Columbia Street Phase 2 grant, DEC. And because we hadn't gotten any action on the waiver. Because Carver had put in for a waiver too. And we got a response and I forwarded on to them that DEC finally said, you're okay, you're fine. It's terrific, because Brenda seemed to indicate that DEC may end up taking care of Columbia.
I'm frustrated because for every contract and every MW we put in front of them, or we've put in the total project and then the eligible amount. And the eligible amount has always backed out the grant. And now we seem to get mixed
The
messages.
thing that it's come up in our discussions, we would see that is that there's Albany and Troy, and our shares that are recovered under our finances. And we have to make sure that somehow anything that's done with the projects has some reference to those project numbers, right? So that they can get reported.
Yeah.
So
They're making it more complicated than it needs to be.
Oh, yeah.
well,
Half of them we don't know what to do. That's the problem. And you can quote me on that. It's probably being recorded.
I think you're.
Maybe the mic will cut out when you. Audio not available.
Yeah.
DOT will toss out items that they know will never be sold. They'll put a realistic. Number. It's this number. Put out as much stuff as you can. And bombard them with 15 pages of good faith that way. Yeah. We have to.
Yeah, there are a couple firms out there I've seen in projects, so there's a list. They're not able to be engaged, you know. Atlantic Testing and Asphalt Doctor, and I've seen like, I'm used to that. I'm used, now I see the vehicles on the road. I'm like, oh, you're working in Troy, you're working. MJ, yeah.
It needs to straighten.
If we get through the-
Yes, the electrical contractor.
It wasn't Castleman, was it?
Guess it was that.
They're out.
Who?
Still saying.
Stilson is no longer. Really? That's too big. Well, did we get all done with Polk Street? Was that you saved last week?
Yeah, and your certificates in there.
Okay, so we got the thing to sign right here.
Mhm.
Yep.
Pass them on down.
Oh, really?
A million gallons out.
And we did get notified, we did get the engineering project grants for both Manor and what is it?
Oh, lovely. We'll put that together.
Did you go
Mike
through
and his
the-
team?
Are you gonna go through the federal selection process for the engineers? Or do we have that?
Yeah,
You got an opinion, interview plans and.
Wow.
Gotta do it, man.
yeah. Yeah,
That's the game.
That's good. Money.
50,000.
It just started really well.
like I said, I saw the announcement, I haven't gotten the stuff yet. Plus nothing, Megan. The official one.
I have a spreadsheet where I track all this stuff. You know, it makes our every dollar helps.
What they put in for a GMGP, for not a long-term complaint project, for North Bond Street. Project, $2.7 million. So it's, now we have to. Come down and put that together. Yeah. You know, we've been trying to do some things for the Sherman College, where we used to have another one of founders in the past, and it's gonna take a lot of projects to. We're going to something. Plus that, we'll do this. DJ credit.
Right.
So that's, so do we have any other business, Marty?
Yeah, just the letter to DEC. Looking for a blessing before I send it in, if I'm not characterizing everything correctly. But it's a notification to them that we plan on shutting down our discharge notification system that was set up. It outlines the reasons why it's not useful, and that there are security updates and updates that are necessary to the site, and the site was built to comply with sewage pollution right to know, to which it doesn't, and New York State changed the way the communities are required to respond to that. So given we're not getting much use, given it requires a lot of investment to bring up to current standards, and given the fact it doesn't meet the terms of sewage pollution right to know,
Okay, save our money.
doesn't fit, so. But that's where it is.
I know, I gotta change.
You can, what I would suggest is refer back to the CSO pool community site and just say, you know, this is how we're advancing our projects and programs, and we have an annual report there. And then what we'll do is at the top of the CSO site where it says sign up for alerts, we'll direct people to we'll direct people to NIALERT. So, yep. So that'll be the loop.
We'll get that along with every crash that happens on.
Yeah.
Okay, are we all set? Can I have a motion to adjourn? Second? Yeah. Gary, all in favor? Aye, opposed.
Great.
Next meeting.
The Braith will have our auditors here. Tom has been engaged with them. They're making great headway. So
Yeah, they have everything that they've asked for. I've got no question back, so. Finished up.
it's nice to work with people that know how we work.
But then we have to file a char 500, which is a document of New York State, which they've changed. Now it has to be done by a portal. And I just filed one, it crashed.